No, we were smarter than that. We'd make Marcus destroy himself. Step 1 was simple. Get Marcus angrier than usual. Poke at the bear, so to speak. We started making small, calculated mistakes. Greg would send in the wrong numbers on purpose. Sarah would brew the wrong coffee blend every day. I made sure the printer jammed every time Marcus needed it most. It was easy to push him further and further off the edge. He was already teetering there to begin with. Then came step 2. Record everything. Hi, my name is Daniel, and I've worked in plenty of toxic environments before, but nothing could have prepared me for him. It's been 7 months since I started at Ferris Incorporated, and I have never encountered a boss quite like Marcus Ferris. The man was something else, completely out of his mind. A walking powder keg just waiting to blow. It wasn't just that he was mean or difficult. No, it was so much worse because he was unhinged, volatile, and on more than one occasion, outright violent. It all started subtly. He'd explode at people over minor issues, make them feel worthless for messing up a tiny detail. One time, he threw a chair across the office when a good friend of mine, Sarah, didn't have a report ready for him on time.
Sarah, you idiot! You had one simple job, and you made a complete mess of it. What is wrong with you?
I'm very sorry, sir. I promise to do better next time.
It missed her by inches. We laughed it off at first. Just a quirky, eccentric boss, right? He had a lot on his plate, of course. That's what we told ourselves. One dreary Monday morning, the kind where you just hope to survive until lunch. Marcus stormed into the office, his face red, eyes wild, holding a coffee mug.
Who the hell brewed this coffee?
I was at my desk, pretending to look busy on my computer, trying to make myself invisible. Everyone knew that coffee was a sore subject with him. God forbid if you didn't make it exactly the way he liked it. Timidly, I raised my hand as it had been my turn to make the coffee that day. But I had rushed it, and obviously it wasn't to Marcus's liking. I did, sir. He walked straight up to me, gripping the mug like he wanted to crush it in his hand.
Did you use the special blend like I've told you 1,000 times? I told everyone I only want the special blend on Mondays.
I'm sorry, Marcus. I must have grabbed the wrong one. I'll make sure to remember for next time. Before I could finish, he threw part of the coffee on me before smashing it against the wall. It shattered, and the hot coffee splashed everywhere. I flinched as the hot coffee sprayed over me again. Everyone else, though, didn't even move. We were used to this by now.
You're all incompetent. None of you can handle a simple task like making coffee. What the hell are you doing here?
I blinked back tears, staring at the brown streaks dripping down the wall. Marcus stormed back into his office and slammed the door behind him. That night, after he left, we huddled in the break room, whispering, "That man's going to kill someone one day."
Yeah, I know. He's going to throw something and hit someone eventually and really hurt them. As is, you got burned by that coffee. But what can we do?
I don't know yet, but we need to think of something. 2 weeks later, Marcus's madness reached a new level. It was mid-morning, and we were all typing away at our computers when the sound of banging erupted from the copy room. Papers flew everywhere, and the air filled with the unmistakable clatter of plastic being smashed to bits. I walked over, peeking into the room. There he was, screaming and kicking the office printer like a man possessed.
Stupid machine. Useless piece of junk.
What happened?
It's jammed.
He snarled, storming out, not even caring that the room was now littered with the remains of the company's third printer in 6 months. Marcus didn't care about the damage he left in his wake. Not the physical damage, not the emotional scars he was leaving on all of us. But that day, as I picked up the broken pieces of the printer, something inside me shifted. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was angry. And I wasn't the only one. There's only so much abuse you can take before you snap. The final straw came during the annual team-building retreat, a mandatory weekend getaway that was supposed to improve morale. Ironically, it had the opposite effect. The retreat was at a cabin in the woods that Marcus owned. We all just assumed that he wanted to show off that he owned the property, but none of us cared about what he owned. We were all just counting down the minutes until we could go home. Late Saturday night, we were sitting around the campfire when Marcus started in on Greg. He worked in the cubicle next to me. I don't even remember what set Marcus off. Probably something trivial like the wrong marshmallow toasting technique.
Again, you're a failure, Greg. You know that? You think I don't know you've been screwing up those client reports? You can't even toast a damn marshmallow correctly. You're lucky I don't fire you on the spot.
Greg clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. We could all tell that he was very near to his breaking point.
I'm doing the best I can, Marcus. Your best is garbage. Maybe you're just not cut out for this kind of work.
Marcus was towering over Greg, who was sitting down. He then slapped the poker Greg was using to roast marshmallows with out of his hands. All of us could tell that Greg was doing his best to try to keep calm, but then Marcus pushed too far. He pushed Greg, shoved him hard in the chest, causing him to stumble and fall into the fire pit. He scrambled to get up, but not before the flames licked the side of his pant leg, burning a hole through the fabric. We rushed to pull Greg away, and the look in his eyes said it all. We couldn't take this anymore. Something snapped in all of us that night. After the retreat, the conversations in the break room changed. They weren't just about venting anymore. They were about survival and revenge. He could have seriously hurt Greg. He almost did.
He's dangerous. Someone like him belongs in a mental hospital. We have to stop him.
We all knew human resources wouldn't help. They hadn't done anything the last 5 times we'd filed complaints. Marcus was untouchable. He was the founder, the golden boy who'd built the company from the ground up. As long as the profits kept rolling in, no one cared how he treated his employees. That's when Sarah suggested it.
What if we get him back?
What do you mean? At first, the idea seemed ludicrous. We couldn't go after our boss. But then again, what was the alternative? Keep letting him terrorize us until someone ended up in the hospital, or worse. Over the next few weeks, we started planning. It wasn't going to be anything violent. None of us wanted to stoop to his level. No, we were smarter than that. We'd make Marcus destroy himself. Step 1 was simple. Get Marcus angrier than usual. Poke at the bear, so to speak. We started making small, calculated mistakes. Greg would send in the wrong numbers on purpose. Sarah would brew the wrong coffee blend every day. I made sure the printer jammed every time Marcus needed it most. It was easy to push him further and further off the edge. He was already teetering there to begin with. Then came step 2. Record everything. Greg was a whiz with technology, and he managed to set up hidden cameras and microphones all around the office, capturing every single one of Marcus's tirades in crystal clear audio and video. The physical threats, the verbal abuse, all of it. We had more than enough evidence by the end of the month to show the world exactly what kind of monster Marcus Ferris really was. Step 3 was the most satisfying of all, the final blow. Sarah was the one who sent the email, an anonymous tip to a local investigative reporter, along with all the footage we'd gathered. We knew it would take a little time for them to investigate, but we didn't mind waiting. We could already taste the sweet, sweet revenge. It all came crashing down for Marcus, faster than any of us had expected. Within days, the reporter released our story on their website. Before long, dozens of people from the media swarmed our office, reporters at every corner, demanding comments from anyone who would talk. The video clips of Marcus's outbursts went viral, splashed across every news outlet and social media platform. The hashtag #MadMarcus was trending everywhere you looked. Even though he was the founder of the company, there was a board of directors, and with the public shaming of Marcus, they couldn't ignore the problem anymore. The company was hemorrhaging money, and so the board demanded that Marcus step down and leave the company. This set Marcus off like nothing else. He ran around the office, throwing anything that wasn't bolted to the floor around, and was ranting and raving.
You'll all regret this. I'm going home for now, but I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll kill anyone who tries to force me to leave a company I built from scratch. You haven't won. I don't know which of you exposed me, but I'll make every last one of you pay for humiliating me like this.
We were all terrified as we knew that that was exactly what he was going to do. As he left the building, though, he ran out to his car and got into it, and sped out of his parking spot so fast that he smashed into other cars and continued to clip other vehicles until he was out of the parking lot. The next day, we were all dreading what was going to happen. I feared that Marcus was going to come back armed and hurt people, but then I saw Sarah smiling, and I was incredibly confused. What are you so happy about?
Oh, you didn't hear?
No. What's up?
Marcus never made it home last night. He was so angry that he drove incredibly reckless and caused a huge car accident. It will be a miracle if he even walks again.
I jumped on my computer and saw that what she was saying was true. Marcus had caused a 10-car pileup, and he had been airlifted to the hospital. It was so bad that he had become a paraplegic, as his injuries were so bad that he was paralyzed from his neck down. He had to use a special wheelchair that was driven by his mouth just to get around. On top of that, the families of the other people involved in the crash sued him for the pain and suffering he had caused them, and he was forced to pay out millions of dollars, which left him nearly broke and penniless. His girlfriend left him when he became broke and sick and fled to another state, deleting all of their photos on her Instagram. After that, we never saw Marcus again, as he had become a shut-in. From what we heard, he basically withered away and became a shell of the person he used to be. As for those of us in the office, we felt incredibly relieved, and the woman that the board of directors hired to replace Marcus was amazing. She was strict, but very fair, and really kept us not only motivated, but made us feel valued and important. After that, we didn't have any more problems at work. I wish I could say Marcus went quietly, but of course, that wasn't his style. One day he showed up at the office, screaming at everyone, accusing us of betrayal. "You think this is over? I'll ruin all of you," he bellowed as security escorted him out of the building. But we just stood there, watching him go, knowing he didn't have a shred of power over us anymore. We later heard that Marcus was constantly being bullied by his caregiver. Whenever he shouted at him, the caregiver would lock Marcus in the bathroom for hours. Now, Marcus has become a shadow of his former self and constantly burns through his savings to pay the caregiver. Most of his family members have cut ties with him too, after hearing how poorly he treated his workers. He is now depressed. In the end, we didn't just get revenge on Marcus, we got our lives back. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying "I subscribed," and we will try our best to reply to your comment. But he followed me, grabbing my arm before I could escape. "Hey, don't walk away from me, you little cripple. You think you can just ignore me? Didn't you hear how much of an eyesore that you are?" "I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do, though. I was born this way. I'm sorry that I'm such a burden to you and Mom." "Damn right, you're sorry. You're the sorriest excuse for a son anyone could have." It went on like that for years. My mother wasn't any kinder. Every time I'd try to do something, make friends, join a club, anything to feel normal, she'd tear me down.
"You're wasting your time. No one wants a freak around. Do you know how embarrassing it is for me to have to explain you to people?"
Their words echoed in my head. "Hi, my name is Daniel, and my parents are horrible people. They have always been cruel to me, and for nothing that I could even change. My parents, Donna and Frank, had made it clear from an early age that I was nothing but a disappointment to them. The issue was my leg. When I was born, it didn't develop quite right, and I was left with a noticeable limp. No one really knew what caused it, whether it was something hereditary or just random bad luck. It made everything harder, walking, running, even just standing still. I wore braces on my leg until I was 13, and even then, the limp never went away. That limp became the focal point of my parents' scorn. They made sure to remind me every day of how I wasn't like normal kids. It wasn't just the constant insults, though those were bad enough. It was the way they looked at me, like I was a stain they couldn't wash out. The worst part was, they made me feel like my disability was somehow a personal failing, like I'd chosen to be this way, just to spite them. One of my earliest memories is of my mother looking down at me, her face twisted with disgust. I must have been about 5, struggling to keep up with her as she walked quickly down the sidewalk.
"You're so slow, Daniel. Why can't you be like the other kids? You look like a freak."
"I'm sorry, Mama. I'm trying."
"Don't call me that. It's embarrassing when you call me that. Stop it."
The words cut deep, even back then. I didn't know what I'd done wrong, only that something about me seemed to bother her in a way I couldn't understand. As I got older, it didn't get any better. One summer afternoon, I was sitting on the porch steps, trying to avoid them. I had spent the day out, hiding in the park, reading a book to escape. But as soon as I got home, Dad was waiting for me.
You're gonna have to be faster than that if you want to run away. Though, I'm not sure anyone else would want you anyway.
I wasn't trying to run away. I was just reading a book in the park.
Ugh, well that's a shame. With a leg like that though, you probably wouldn't be able to anyways.
There's nothing wrong with my leg, Dad. It's just not as strong as my other one.
Ha ha, you can't be serious. That leg is hideous. When we go out in public, people stare at us like we belong in a circus because of it.
I kept my head down, forcing myself not to react. I'd learned early on that any response just made things worse. Instead, I pushed past him, trying to make it to my room without saying a word. But he followed me, grabbing my arm before I could escape.
Hey, don't walk away from me, you little cripple. You think you can just ignore me? Didn't you hear how much of an eyesore that you are?
I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do, though. I was born this way. I'm sorry that I'm such a burden to you and Mom.
Damn right, you're sorry. You're the sorriest excuse for a son anyone could have.
It went on like that for years. My mother wasn't any kinder. Every time I'd try to do something, make friends, join a club, anything to feel normal, she'd tear me down.
You're wasting your time. No one wants a freak around. Do you know how embarrassing it is for me to have to explain you to people?
Their words echoed in my head, years after I'd finally left. I was 18 when I moved out. Even though I knew that they hated me, I wished that they would either wish me luck or at the very least say goodbye. But no. They just noticed I was packing, and as soon as I started moving my boxes out, they instantly went into my old room and started planning on redecorating it. I tried to say goodbye to them, but they just shot me dirty glares. It wasn't easy living on my own, but because of my disability, I was able to get some government assistance. Sadly, it took me until my late 20s to realize I could actually cut them out of my life entirely. I'd done well for myself by then, managed to go to college, get a job, and build a life. I had my own small business, a circle of friends who treated me like family, and for the first time, I felt like I was worth something. I hadn't spoken to my parents in years when they showed up at my door one morning. I hadn't even known they'd still be living in town. I'd never given them my address, never expected them to try to find me. But there they were, looking older, weaker, and for once, desperate.
Daniel, it's so good to see you. Your father and I need to talk to you.
I didn't respond right away. I just stared at them, feeling a strange mix of anger and satisfaction. Here they were, after all those years of pushing me away, needing something from me. They must have sensed my hesitation, because Dad spoke up, his voice gruff and strained.
We're in a pretty difficult situation, Danny. We made some investing choices that didn't pan out, and we are hurting for money, and we heard that you are doing well for yourself.
I'm sorry to hear that. But how does that concern me, really?
We need help. We don't have anyone else. We didn't have anyone else to turn to.
Did you try to reach out to the rest of the family? Surely you have someone else who can help you.
There isn't anyone else. We don't have anyone else.
I wasn't surprised, to be honest. Both my parents had siblings, and I had several cousins that had all done as good as myself, or better. But none of them would want anything to with my parents, as they were just awful people. They were abhorrent to me, but they were barely any better to other people. For a moment, I considered slamming the door in their faces. They certainly deserved it. But something held me back. Instead, I stepped aside, motioning for them to come in. They hesitated, then shuffled past me, glancing around my house with an air of entitlement that made my skin crawl. My father looked briefly at the vase I kept by my front door that held various canes I had collected. His face contorted in a look of disgust, but only for a moment before he threw on his best forced smile.
Nice place you've got here. I worked hard for it. No thanks to either of you.
We made mistakes, Danny. We know that, but we're here now, aren't we? Can we please put the past behind us and just start fresh and new?
After ignoring me for years. Well, my whole life, really. Funny how that works.
We didn't ignore you.
Yes, you did. You never once reached out to see how I was doing, not in all these years. The only reason you're here now is because you want something. Most parents would have checked in once in a while on their children to make sure they were doing okay. You didn't so much as see if I was alive. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Instead, she glanced at my dad, who looked away, his face pinched. They both knew I was right. What exactly is it that you want from me?
Because if you're looking for forgiveness, you're too late for that. Here, oh come on, Daniel. We weren't really that bad. We had some good times too. No, we really didn't. At any rate, we don't have to let our past color our future. Daniel, please. We lost so much money and can barely afford our bills. We thought maybe you could help. Help? You want my help?
Please, Danny, you may not believe us, but we know that weren't the easiest people to live with, and we could have been better parents. But we are family. You are our son. Nothing can change that. We're your parents. Doesn't that mean anything?
Parents? You never acted like parents to me. You treated me like a burden, like a freak. I don't owe you anything. My leg always disgusted you in spite of the fact that I didn't choose to be born this way. And even though you didn't help me, I still became successful. They are standing in silence, their faces drawn and pale. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for them. But then I remembered all the years of cruelty, all the times they'd torn me down just because I was different. Tell you what, I'll help you. I'll pay for your bills. But there's a catch. They looked up, a glimmer of hope in their eyes. Anything. We'll do anything. I want you to sign over your house to me as collateral for the money I will loan you. I've done well for myself, but I still don't have so much money that I can give you whatever you want and never expect to see it again.
But that's the only thing we have of value.
Think of it as a test of trust then. You are asking a lot from me. You haven't shown yourselves to be trustworthy, and this would go a long way to make me trust you. Sign it over, and I'll cover the costs. You came to me because you were desperate. Well, this is the price.
Fine, we agree and we'll sign.
I contacted my lawyer and had them draw up the paperwork the next day, and I made sure it was all airtight. I did, however, include a few clauses that my parents didn't even bother to look over. They were so desperate for money that they just ignored them. I loaned them the money, just as I'd promised. And just as I knew they would, they started to pay me back on a regular basis for a few months, but it didn't take long for them to stop making their payments. They of course made up quite a few excuses as to why they were late when paying me back. I let it slide at first. I knew that they would see me as a fresh and unlimited amount of money, and that they would no doubt rack up quite the huge debt, because they just assumed that any debt that they accrued would just become my problem. But that was where they were incredibly wrong. It didn't take them long to earn tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt.
Daniel, we are sorry, but we can't remotely afford to pay our bills. Could you please make yourself useful and take care of them?
Why should I? Because it's the only thing that you're good for. It's not like any woman would be interested in such a weak man. Since you don't have kids, you may as well help us more. Or I could just cut my losses and demand my debts paid. What nonsense are you talking about? You see, among the things that my parents overlooked had clauses that protected me. I was listed as their primary payee. Basically, it meant that I had loaned them money, and that they had sworn that if they could not pay off their debt to me, that I would then outright own their house as collateral. The next day, I went to my lawyer and had them begin the proceedings to collect on my parents' debt. I showed that they were several months behind on their payments, and the court approved that they had reneged on the contract I had them sign. Once my parents understood what was happening, they begged me to not take their house, but I ignored them and took possession and kicked them out. I had to have the police actually remove them from the house. Once they were out, I hired a crew to bulldoze the house. My parents tried their best to get the demolition crew to not destroy their house, but they worked for me, and I threatened to call the police again if they didn't allow the workers to do their jobs. My parents watched in horror as their house was leveled and reduced to splinters. After that, they never contacted me again. I ended up selling the now empty lot and made a very decent amount of money from the sale. I did keep a small chunk of wood from the demolished house as a reminder. Whenever I'm feeling down, I hold the chunk of wood and feel empowered, using it as a reminder that no matter how dark or hopeless things get, that I'm not weak. When push comes to shove, I can always rise to the occasion. As for my parents, they ended up sleeping on the streets because no family member wanted to help them. They were awful people. As for me, I met a girl who loves me for who I am, and I'm feeling pretty hopeful for a great future with her and starting a family together. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.